All right, here we go. New night, Thursday. Moving on from Friday nights. Dave Koken is here. Haven't seen Dave in a little while. We have a lot of good stuff to talk about. I love football season because we get to break down all the college and NFL stuff and get some leans and likes from Dave. And tonight, the NFL is back, and it was weird, Dave. I don't know what you thought going into the game. I really didn't understand the line. I said it on the air today. I think the Bucs are good, not great. I don't like the Cowboys because of Mike McCarthy. Funny the way it played out. But the Cowboys are good enough to hang with them, and they more than hung with them. They, in a lot of ways, they should have won the game, but we can get to the key factors. But in the end, Tom Brady, you've seen this a million times. I know you're not much of a Patriots fan anymore, but you give Tom Brady the ball, even at 1,000 years old, with a minute and a half left and some timeouts. Good luck.
Yeah, I think he's got a future in the NFL. He's pretty good. And Prescott was outstanding in his return. I mean, he hadn't played a football game in almost a full year. And not a lot of rust showing there. Great game. I mean, what a terrific way to start the season. If this is a harbinger of things to come in 2021 NFL, it's going to be a fun year to watch the action. This was great.
What's up, RJ? Good to see you back. Final drive was scripted. Okay, maybe.
What does that mean?
I have no idea. I know JVT was tweeting that he was hanging out at a local bar, and someone by the second quarter was like, "The NFL's fixed." I know. It's your favorite. It's your favorite.
Well, look, the amount of money that it would take to fix a game, there's no way it could be kept secret. It's impossible. It's literally impossible. There are a number of events, be they sports or any other things, that you could have some suspicions about. The NFL? How? You got 90 players involved. They're all making a lot of money. And, I mean, you can't fix it with one guy. In other words, if you isolate one guy on a team, he's not going to change the outcome in all likelihood. I mean, I suppose it's possible, but almost impossible. And the amount of money that would have to be crossing the betting windows would indicate unusual betting pattern. And with more and more legalized wagering, the likelihood of anything untold happening drops off exponentially. Anybody who thinks this stuff is fixed is a complete idiot, because they're not using any form of logic. I mean, could this have happened 20 years ago, 40 years ago? Yeah, absolutely.
Did it? Probably.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
But in 2021, it's basically can't happen. Where it can happen is in individual sports, tennis. Yeah. I think it does happen in tennis, not at the elite level, not in the major tournaments, but in some of these events, particularly in Europe. There's been some strange stuff that's going on, and they catch it every time, by the way, because even on those matches, the betting pattern's unusual, and books, any sharp odds maker or bookmaker, forget odds maker, bookmaker, can spot an unusual betting pattern. I mean, this is going back 40-something years. I knew something was going on with Boston College. I didn't know what, but I knew this is really weird. I was bookmaking at the time, and it was just strange betting pattern stuff on some of their games that it just didn't make any sense. And unfortunately, who was I going to call? The NCAA. Hey, it's Dave Koken in Providence. I think there's something going on in this Boston College game. And they got caught, by the way.
Yeah, folks. For the NFL, they're the referee or and I know people want to talk about the officiating. We'll get to that, but for the NFL, Kenny Stabler ain't walking through that door anymore. So sorry, folks.
No.
There's some
officials make mistakes, but I don't think it's not with that group. That's a prestige job.
There was,
we saw. Look, we've seen one high-level official in professional sports get mixed up with something.
Yep,
and he got caught like within 2 months.
They got him.
And by the way, I'm sure he's not broke, but let's just say it changed his life in a negative way.
Yeah. My smart alecky remark about Kenny Stabler goes back to 78 when the Raiders were one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl. They were 4-1, and they wound up finishing 9-7, and he had 16 touchdowns and 30 interceptions and had a couple of friends in organized crime and bookmaking. But anyway, put that aside. I think what people are really talking about is the frustration sometimes when you see the great players seem to be the beneficiary of calls or non-calls. And you had the holding call on the Cowboys against Vita Vea. That was a hold. The holding call by Tyron Smith on JPP, that was shaky. And then there's the OPI, where, you know, the catch to set up the winning field goal. Did Godwin push off? I mean, that's the problem. Is it's the inconsistency with the officials that drives people nuts. Because there will be a big spot, Dave, down the road where there's a big play and it's very similar, and they're like, "Oh, offensive pass interference."
Yeah, I guess my take on OPI is it's got to be blatant. And Lou Dog says it's blatant. I didn't think it was. I thought it was offensive pass interference, but there's some kind of interference on almost every play, unless the guy's wide open. And to me, it was a little shove as opposed to a big push off. Here's the thing, Steve. He got caught. His career ended. So was it worth it? I think if you asked Tim Donaghy to give you an honest answer, I would bet a lot of money that he wishes he hadn't done it. Okay. I mean, yeah, I guess, does he sell picks now? I'm not sure what he does, to be honest with you.
He was doing it. I'm not sure if he's still doing it.
Well, I'm pretty sure he wasn't making that kind of, he was making more than that as an NBA official. And by the way, that's pretty good life. I mean, it really is. It's first class all the way. You're part of some of the biggest events that take place. If you work in the NBA playoffs, I mean, that's really big stuff. And what did he get? A handful of games that maybe he won some money on? I don't know. Maybe I have no idea what he won, but I can guarantee it wasn't all that much.
Yeah. And his Chance Copperpot, real name, as he says here, if you think there's the fix that it's in, then yeah, of course, then you somehow try to, I guess, get Brady, but it didn't work out, did it? Because they didn't cover. So I guess you could bet what, Brady money line, Bucks money line. So I don't understand it. And as Trees and ODB says, problem is not the officials, it's the rules, too much gray area. They also got rid of reviewing pass interference because they were getting embarrassed because, well, frankly, they didn't cooperate. They didn't actually follow the laws of the league. The league said review PIs, and they're like, yeah, we'll review them. We're not going to overturn them outside of like 2%. So the league's like, well, they're not going to cooperate, so we have to get rid of that. But here's the thing. The story of the game is not the officiating or an OPI. And the story of the game is Tom Brady does this often. Mike McCarthy is another goddamn coach who's got the ball, and he's playing for field goals. And he's giving the opportunity to Brady or Rodgers or, you name whoever you want to rank as the top guys. It was Breeze. But the fact that Mike McCarthy has the ball on second down, they're moving the ball. You got defensive backs hurt. The Bucks pass rush was good, but they're not able to cover all these receivers. And on second down, he's like, here you go, Zeke, and just gives away a play. And I tweeted it out. Immediately, I was like, well, we're going to talk about the Buccaneers win. And I just put a picture up of Mike McCarthy looking up like, and that's the problem with guys like Mike McCarthy, and that's going to be the problem with the Cowboys this year. Dave, the Cowboys certainly can win 11 games, but there's going to be 6 games where Mike McCarthy has to make key decisions at different points in the game and go for wins, play winning football. And he's going to botch it half the time, if not 4 to 6 games. And they're going to wind up having 3 games that maybe they could win, or 4 like tonight that they blow, and the Cowboys are going to fall short. And the other one is Gruden's got to get better at this year. None of this playing for field goal stuff and giving the great quarterbacks. I didn't even mention Mahomes. Don't give Pat Mahomes and Brady, don't give them the ball back. I had no stake in the game, so it didn't matter to me. But Brady got the ball with about 90 seconds to play. I should have live bet it because it's like he's going to get him in field goal range. Did anyone get it? Because I looked up and William Hill had it suspended. It was plus 105. It was minus 125. It might have been, it was minus 125 and like plus 105, whatever the split was. Yeah, of course, at that point, you're going to roll the dice on the Pats. And here's the thing. My skin in the game, I had the Cowboys. So I like the Cowboys. I started talking about yesterday, plus 8.5. I didn't get the better number, 9.5. I didn't know their field goal kicker was going to stink and miss an extra point. But down the stretch, I tried for a middle, and I had the Pats. I had the Buccaneers minus 2.5 and the Cowboys plus 8.5. So, I could have used that 5 point. There was a moment where it could have been a 5-point game. I didn't get it, but it does. Like, I broke even. I don't care about that. It's the frustration I have. I share it with Cowboy fans when you watch guys like McCarthy, and there are other guys like that. I mean, Vic Fangio is a nightmare on this stuff. Gruden scares the crap out of me. It's infuriating. Play winning football. I mean, this poor guy comes back after snapping his leg. His freaking ankle is turned sideways. He goes out and throws for 400 yards. You ride him, and he doesn't get a win. Come on. Dak Prescott doesn't win?
It's you see it every week where there are coaches who just get so conservative late, and it's the old philosophy of we're going to coach not to lose rather than coach to win. And I'll take the guys who are, particularly if you're moving the ball, why would you get away from something that's been working and go conservative? Saw it in a college football game over the weekend. Louisiana Tech should have beaten Mississippi State. Skip Holtz blew the game. Flat out blew the game. Got conservative, tried to win with a field goal late. They missed the field goal. That was the other thing tonight on McCarthy. My thoughts are you got to try and get the ball in the end zone. Number one, you want to make Brady have to score a touchdown, not kick a field goal. It's a huge difference. And number two, your kicker hasn't exactly been money tonight. Zerline was money on the big field goal late for Dallas, but that was the first good kick he made all night. He had a couple others that were just barely good. And he had a shank, or a hook, I should say, not a shank, on a field goal. We'll give him a pass on the 60-yarder. Those don't get made very often anyway. And he missed an extra point. He doinked an extra point. So do you want to really leave it in the foot of your field goal kicker who's having a bad night? I don't. And I just don't get and you could see it happening. It's like you could see it unfolding. They moved the ball nicely. They made a couple of key plays, got some good yards after a catch on by CeeDee Lamb. And it's like, go for it. Keep driving. You got them on their heels now. They didn't do it. They went real conservative with short stuff and actually and then hurt themselves with the penalty. But to me, that's just end game strategy. Yep. And he just doesn't have it. He never has. Hell, he used to do the same thing in Green Bay, and he had one of the best quarterbacks who's ever played the game in Aaron Rodgers. Like, what are you doing?
Yep. Your organization decides to pay a quarterback, whatever, $35-40 million, top of the market. Put it on them, not the kicker. The kickers, you rotate these guys. And the worst thing for Cowboy fans is, and I joked about it, it's mean, I'm fat shaming, but essentially Mark McCarthy at times coaches just as basically an overweight Jason Garrett, because Jason Garrett used to do that shit all the time.
And I guess I'll also throw some blame on Moore. I mean, he's the guy sending in the plays.
Well, that's interesting. I wonder down the stretch, because that was so out of character for Kellen Moore to suddenly run the ball. And here's the thing. AJ says Dallas can't run the football, which is a big problem. They'll be able to run the football. The Bucs are probably a top 3 run defense. And if you watch the difference now with Vita Vea back, I mean, that is ridiculous in the middle of the line. A guy who's 347 pounds. He's taking up 2 guys. They'll be able to run the ball. The Bucs are not a team you really try to run against.
He is extraordinary, by the way. How does a guy move like that at 350 pounds? It's incredible, isn't it?
Yep. He's pushing guys back, who are 315 pounds like they're nothing.
Yep.
It's amazing. Oh, boy. Well, it's a good point, Lou Dog. We'll see what happens next week. NFC East games will be real interesting. I don't want to see them in prime time. I don't know why they're doing this to us, but
they're rivals.
Yeah.
And I mean, it could be a real good knockdown, drag-out brawl. I mean, Washington's got a really good defense. Their offense we'll have to wait and see, but they're not going to be fun to play against. The Chargers will find that out on Sunday. They're going to be in the backfield creating havoc. That's a very good defense. And the Giants, I think the Giants might move forward some this year. Not so much offensively, but because I'm not a big Jones guy, but if Barkley's back to being healthy again, he's just a tremendous weapon offensively, and the defense isn't terrible. That should be a fun game, and they hate each other, by the way. It's a good rivalry. You get these rivalries in prime time. They don't have to be elite teams. I would completely agree with Thomas. The Giants O-line, I have it dead last in the league. I rate the each position doing my power ratings, and I have the Giants offensive line as number 32 out of 32. So that could be an issue, and it could be an issue this Sunday when they face the Broncos, who would appear to have a very good defense.
On the Giants, I'll say the jury's still out on Joe Judge. I'm not going to pass judgment on him until
I like that. You tied in jury and judge. Nice.
Right? I didn't even know I was doing it. I didn't like what he did last year with the whining in the game where Philly tanked in the second half. So worry about your own team. Dave, do you want to do some NFL games first? Or you want to go college?
Whatever you want. I'm just here to cooperate.
I like your college stuff. I like your NFL too, but let's go with some college. And if anyone's got some college questions, you can ask. I'm just going to go down the board. I am fascinated where some Power 5 programs are right now, and I know Kansas is a complete rebuild, and they were jubilant last week to get the win against South Dakota.
Yeah. Oh, I got to make a comment.
Yeah, do it.
I have no problem whatsoever with a team that hadn't won a football game in, I don't know, 2 years. Yeah. They stormed the field. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I don't.
For them, it was a big deal.
I tweeted.
I got to tell you. I mean, I know there weren't a whole lot of fans at the game, but if UNLV had pulled out that game,
oh yeah,
I wouldn't have minded a big celebration because for the Rebels, any win is a terrific win. By the way, I give the team a lot of credit. It was a hell of a comeback in the fourth quarter last week. I don't care who they were playing. That was a good comeback. They showed a lot of moxie and a tough loss in double overtime, but at least a somewhat encouraging start for UNLV. There might not be many more encouraging games this season as they're a bad team, but that was good effort last week.
Coastal Carolina, let me speak English. Coastal Carolina going to cover near 4 touchdowns against Kansas?
There's a pretty good chance they will.
Yeah.
Well, no, I shouldn't say that. I won't be surprised they will. I'm not betting the game. Coastal had a pretty easy time with Kansas last year at Kansas as a dog, by the way. Nobody knew how good Coastal Carolina was going to be. I will say that was actually a big play for me last year. That was one of my max plays at Wager Talk, and got the right side of it. No surprises this year. Coastal's loaded. The quarterback's outstanding. And national TV for them is still a big deal. They could boat race Kansas in this game.
Someone's asking about Mississippi State. That one is 1.5 NC State favored.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's kind of beating a dead horse, but I'm not a Mike Leach guy. I think Mike Leach fits at a program like Washington State. Get a couple upsets here and there, and maybe win 6 games, get to a bowl. Okay, he's in the big time now. The SEC is the major leagues in college football, which the Pac-12 just isn't. And it took the SEC coaches about a game to figure out what to do defensively against them, where they've got all this speed. Every team, maybe except Vanderbilt, basically every team in the SEC has loads of speed on defense. They recruit speed on defense. And you started seeing teams drop 8 men into coverage last year against Mississippi State. Saw it very early in the season. And they just, that was it. That was the end of the game for their offense, because he won't run the ball. He's just going to sling it all over the place. And it's tough to make consistent yardage when you're facing 8 men in pass coverage. Saw it again last week. Well, Louisiana Tech couldn't pull it off because they didn't have the athletes, but they almost won the game, and should have won the game, in fact. So now they're facing an NC State team that's pretty impressive. I'm not. Maybe there's some overreaction to how easy NC State had it last week against a terrible South Florida team. So I didn't want to. Had they been the underdog in this game, I'd have been on them. They're not, so I'm going to leave it alone. But I'm not predicting good things for Mike Leach at Mississippi State. I think I've always felt he was a very overrated coach, and nothing I've seen has changed that viewpoint.
Back to your comments about UNLV, you're going to lay 34.5, 35, Arizona State?
Oh, no, definitely not. because UNLV will try. And Arizona State last week was pretty vanilla, and they're probably going to be pretty vanilla this week because their real season starts next week.
Yep.
So I don't think Arizona State wants to show a whole lot offensively. They sure didn't last week, and they shouldn't need to here. That said, they can probably name the score. So depending on how interested Arizona State is, that'll determine the final score. But I'm not big on laying that many points in a game that Arizona State just doesn't have to do much. They just need to show up and win the game. Those first week of the season, I think the enthusiasm level is really high, and you can get away with bigger favorites. After that, yeah, you kind of need to pick your spots. Unless you're talking about Alabama, they can kill anybody. But Arizona State, I think, has bigger fish to fry than UNLV.
ASU at BYU next week. BYU taking on Utah this week. That could be a pissed off BYU team if they get freaking rolled in the Holy War. What's going to happen with Utah laying 7?
I actually want to take BYU. I just can't do it for 2 reasons. Number one, it hasn't been much of a holy war lately. I think Utah's won the last 9. Number 2, I can't say I was real impressed by BYU last week. I thought it was a lousy game. I mean, it was interesting to a point, but I didn't see much positive from either team. I think BYU, look, I understand you don't have Wilson at quarterback anymore, but I thought they were overly conservative last week against an Arizona team that really isn't that good defensively. And they're going to have to be better than that against Utah, I can tell you that. I was not impressed by Arizona either. They got a long way to go. Jed Fisher's got a complete rebuild to do there. Sumlin just destroyed the program. Not that they were a great program when he took it over, but they got a lot worse. And we'll see what they do against San Diego State this week. And I know the Aztecs weren't good last week against New Mexico State, particularly weren't good in the first half. And they've got real limitations on offense. But I'm not sure Arizona should be the favorite in that game.
I took Arizona. So I might be on the wrong side. I'm very worried about San Diego. First of all, I think the jury's still out on Brady Hoke as a coach. Running the program and recruiting. Their quarterback play was unreal. That was not good, San Diego State.
No, they were just plain bad. They were hideous in the first half against an awful New Mexico State team. They did play well in the second half, but they're not going to win with offense. They're going to have to get a lot of stops on defense and create some turnovers in field position to be successful. This is not a vintage Aztec squad. That's kind of a bad game.
It's a low
I think you've got San Diego State and Arizona. Neither one of these teams is much good.
46.5 on the total.
I'm not a totals guy, but I'm not sure you're going to get that many points.
By the way, Utah's won 9 in a row.
Yep.
This from the world of political correctness. I guess ESPN has asked employees to avoid using Holy War in reference to the BYU Utah game.
It's just what they call it. Oh, God. Jesus. It's a good name. Okay.
Yeah, no more Friday nights. So Dave's busy and I got some travel, so we bumped it up to Thursday. So we're doing during football and into basketball, we'll do late night podcast Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Thomas, easy, man. Easy with the Jesus. Stop it now. We had Brad Powers on today, and Brad was, man, he admitted it might be a bit of an overreaction that Michigan's pushed all the way out to 7 against Washington.
It is an overreaction.
It was a pick, but he was saying the problem is, Washington looks so bad. And this could be a case, Dave, where, they name the next guy to run a program, and he may just not be the right guy in Jimmy Lake.
I have to wait and see. Washington is extremely young. And they've got a bunch of injuries at wide receiver. And skill position is their weakness to begin with. They're really good up front on both sides of the ball. Love their offensive line, love their defensive line. I think they're probably the two best units in the Pac-10. But the skill positions are a problem. And their youth could be a problem going in and facing Michigan with over 100,000 people in the stands because I assume they'll all be there. The Michigan fans have to be excited after a good performance last week against Western Michigan, which is a quality MAC team. Now, the downside for Michigan is they lost their most explosive player. Bell is out for the season. Ronnie Bell is a really good player. He stretches the field offensively, big weapon on special teams. He had one catch last week for 78 yards. He's gone for the year. That is a huge hit to the Michigan offense. I think the line's too high. From a value standpoint, I would take Washington. I didn't do it because I don't like playing on teams with cluster injuries, and Washington's got them at the wideout spot. They're really shorthanded at wideout.
What do you think of Nebraska minus 14 against Buffalo?
I wouldn't lay it. Buffalo's not as good as they were last year. They've lost some talent. They lost their coach and their staff. And they did have a good opening week game. It was against garbage, but at least they played well. Nebraska, however, is a team that I think has a lot of problems. I think Scott Frost's going to be gone at the end of the year. And rumor has it they've already targeted a few guys. So the pressure's really on for Frost to deliver. The rumor mill, and I have no inside information on this. This is just what I'm being told by some people who have good ideas. And some ties there. Luke Fickell, Stoops, and I forgot the other one. Matt Campbell. Matt Campbell's name is going to come up for every big job there is.
He's not. You think he's going to leave Iowa State for Nebraska?
No.
Why would Fickell leave Cincy for Nebraska when they're going to be Power 5 in a couple of years?
It's still Nebraska. I mean. Is it?
That's
well, I think from a dollar standpoint, Nebraska is going to outbid Cincinnati. I can tell you that.
But
and the second thing is somebody.
I wait for a better job.
Well, I guess the other side of that is somebody's going to be a hero at Nebraska eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in the Big Ten. There's room for them to get back. It only takes one great recruiting class. And if Fickell's got ties everywhere, and he's a phenomenal coach, that might be something where he looks at it and says, I don't know. I had never met the guy.
Right.
But if they throw a boatload of money at him and basically complete autonomy, I mean, you could become an absolute hero, an idol, a legend at Nebraska if you bring them back. I think I'm extremely high. It's been a while since Texas has been a legit contender for anything big. I think those days are coming back for them with Steve Sarkisian. I think that was the hire of the offseason. Look, I understand what happened with Sarkisian at USC. He had problems. He had issues off the field, which he fixed. He took the cure. He's sober Steve now. Nick Saban gave him a job as an analyst and a chance to kind of restore himself. And then he moved back into the thick of things. And this guy's a great coach. He's a great coach. And I think Texas is going to make a lot of noise moving forward. I expect Texas to be back in the regular contending for a playoff spot position in pretty short order. Might be sooner than people think. I think they're going to have a chance to beat Oklahoma and win that conference.
This one's actually kind of fascinating. Does UConn have any fight in them with Edsel gone?
I don't have any players. What are you going to do? Purdue might kill him. I'm not betting on UConn, I can tell you that. But I do think it might actually be addition by subtraction. That's why they basically, when he said, well, this is going to be my last year, they basically said, no, you know what? Forget the last year. This is your last day. Goodbye. Let's cut ties now. It's bad enough here already. We don't need a lame duck coach. I think they made the right move, giving the job to whoever the coordinator is that's going to take over for the rest of the season. But the good news for Connecticut is basketball season is not far away.
Oregon, Ohio State. Up to 14.5, Ohio State favored.
Yeah, I'm not playing the game, so I didn't really check on the status of Thibodeau. I don't know whether he's playing or not.
day to day. He might play Drew Mathis, one of the other good linebackers, or a linebacker. Thibodeau's up on the front line. Mathis is not playing.
Yeah, I know that. Thibodeau's an absolute stud. He's as good a defensive player as there is any place in the country, and that is a big loss if he's not out there. Well, that said, Oregon might be able to hang in. Ohio State hit some big plays last week. Stroud got much better in the second half after a very shaky first half, but they were playing a gopher defense that's got gopher holes. Oregon's a lot better defensively. Ducks didn't show a whole lot last week, which I think was somewhat by design. The downside is I think there's a coaching mismatch here. And the mismatch is in favor of the Buckeyes.
Right.
So I didn't lay it, but I do think that line's too high based on the overall talent on the Oregon roster. I think the Ducks are going to give them a game.
You mentioned how bad South Florida was. They get destroyed by Florida this week, 29.
Oh boy, they're terrible. Yeah, Florida can do whatever they want. Florida flexed its muscles last week. I don't know how much interest they're going to have in this. That's where laying all that many points can get a little bit dicey because they want to just get through this, and their real schedule starts next week. The big games are coming. There are flat spots in the second week of the season, and it could be one for Florida. I'm not saying it will be, and South Florida is just awful. But
well, I was going to say if there's ever a flat spot when you're playing a patsy, it's when the next game is against Alabama.
Yeah.
Okay. So
and you don't want to show much.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the best stuff in your playbook is staying in your playbook. You want to keep that under wraps till you play the big guys. So those are it's games where if South Florida's lucky enough to put 2 scores on the board, they're probably going to cover. And they got beat 45-0 by NC State, but they had a couple of late drives where they almost got in the end zone, and they managed not to. But those drives could turn into late garbage time scores against Florida.
Let's get crazy. Mercer plus 51.5. Bama, Florida next week. Look ahead. Come on now.
I don't know anything about Mercer. I
love
can talk about their basketball program.
53.5. My bad.
Well, yeah, Alabama might not be able to help but cover.
That's a problem.
They're such a monster.
Yep.
The kid, the millionaire quarterback, he's already a millionaire. Yep. He's really good. He could be in the mix for the Heisman already as a freshman. Did you see him last week?
Yeah.
He looked like a fifth-year senior.
Now, there's already people saying he might be the best prospect of all the guys recently at Alabama.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Patriot starter, number 15 pick in the draft.
Yep. I mean, he just looked so polished for a kid playing his first college game. And it's just ridiculous how he doesn't even have to recruit. Just says when recruiting season starts, okay, we're open for business. Who wants to come here? I do. Everybody wants to go there. Why not?
Well, Clay Helton had the nod from Bryce Young for a little while, and then Alabama came in, and they're like, no, you're coming here. Yeah.
And he's already, with the new rules, he's already a millionaire. So he'll be paying for dinners on the road for his teammates.
I wanted to ask you about quarterbacks and decisions on who to play at quarterback. So I'll link together 3 different programs, Wisconsin to Notre Dame to BC. So BC starting quarterback was the guy that Notre Dame didn't choose the last couple of years.
Right.
He's awesome.
I like him. Yeah, he's good quarterback.
Notre Dame's quarterback is the guy that Wisconsin didn't choose. They kept Mertz and they let Cohen walk. So first of all, what do you think of Notre Dame? They're 17 against Toledo, and then Eastern Michigan's getting like 26 against Mertz and Wisconsin.
Tricky spot for Notre Dame. I know, and Brian Kelly already started selling his team post-game because they did give up an 18-point lead in that game. And it's kind of like, okay, we won, but this wasn't real good. And he used the John McKay joke, which old guys like me got. And the younger crowd is like, oh, my God, I can't believe he said that. Fire him. Yeah, okay. I will say this. He didn't deliver it with the flair and comedy timing of John McKay, who was just great. So sometimes when you try too hard to be funny, it doesn't work out. Okay, stick to coaching. Comedy is not your thing, Coach Kelly. But I do think he is going to be able to sell his team that was, hey, look, we didn't do very well. We played some rotten defense in this game, and we allowed too much soft zone coverage late in the game. Not taking anything away from Mackenzie Milton, but they kind of made it easy for him. So I think they'll be prepared. The tough part is it's still a letdown spot, and Toledo's pretty good. I have Toledo as one of the two best teams in the MAC, so it's a big game for them. I made the line 13, I believe. I think that was my number. So a little value on the Toledo side at the present number. I didn't bet it because it was 19.5, and I didn't jump on it. And it's just, look, I don't care how good your opinion is. If you take 17 when you could have had 19.5, you're a bad bettor and you're going to lose eventually. You just have to swallow your pride on games like that and say, you know what? I missed the number.
Yep.
I'll wait. Don't bet bad numbers. Okay. Just don't. If you want to win at gambling, the first thing you need to learn is discipline yourself enough to not bet beat up lines. Don't take the worst of it on purpose.
Truth from Duluth says Jack Cohn was every bit as bad as Mertz. Not according to.
We must have watched different games.
Yeah, not according to PFF. And Truth, this is the third straight comment you made that is crap, because I'll tell you, I ignored the ones above. I was in downtown Omaha. You said it was pretty sweet. Not what I saw. And this casino sucked in Council Bluffs, because I was there too. So I don't know, bro. I know. Any place that limits you to, I think it was like one big beer every 40 minutes, because it's not the casino's fault, but whatever the laws are there, I was like, what is this shit? Back to Vegas.
And back to Jack Cohn versus Mertz. Yeah. I don't know what game you were watching. Jack Cohn was pretty good. Okay. Especially in his first game with a new team and on national TV in a standalone game on the road before a crazy revved up Florida State crowd. And that crowd was great last week. Mertz was terrible.
I think
he lost the game for Wisconsin.
I think Wisconsin fans are getting a little nervous about this decision, because they're going to be stuck with this now. And if this guy doesn't turn it around, that's a big mistake for a program that has aspirations.
I think this is actually a big game for them against, I know it's Eastern Michigan.
Yeah.
But he needs to go out there and have a really good game where he puts the ball in the end zone a few times and lets the running game flourish, which the running game is going to be strong for Wisconsin. They've got a good offensive line, and they've got talent, as they always do at running back. But you can't have 5 trips inside the 25 where you get no points. They ran like, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. I think it was like 90 to 50 on plays run last week, and they lost the game. You can't do that. That's. I'm not saying it's impossible to do, but it's actually kind of difficult to run 40 more plays than the opponent and lose the football game. And Wisconsin doesn't need to just beat Eastern Michigan. I think they beat the crap out of Eastern Michigan, which is not a good defensive football team. So I actually bet Wisconsin in the game. I got a better number than exists now. If they don't get there, I think that's a big red flag on Wisconsin moving forward. This is a game they need to make a statement in. If they'd lost to Penn State in like week 6 or week 7 and were unbeaten at the time, then you could say, well, they just had their hopes and dreams dashed, and this might be a dead spot. But coming off a week 1 loss, your season's not over by any means, and they need to restart it here. It's a game that if Wisconsin doesn't win big, I think it's a big warning light for Wisconsin fans.
I haven't found anyone who's like real bullish on taking Texas -7 against Arkansas.
Well, I like this Texas team. I said that before. I think Sarkisian already has them ahead of schedule. I like the quarterback. They are missing their left guard, I believe it is, who's probably their best player in their offensive line. And Arkansas is pretty good up front. But what I really like on Texas, and it's been a while since I've said this, or anybody said this, I think they got a pretty good defense, which defense hasn't exactly been the thing in the Big 12 for several years. But this Texas defense looked solid last week against a really good team. I mean, Louisiana Lafayette, I don't know that they were a top 25 team, but they're a top 40 team. And that was a good performance against that squad. Arkansas has a quarterback who really can't throw. He's a legs first. He's dual threat, but the primary threat is much more with his legs than his arm. I think they're going to game plan to keep him in the pocket and make him beat them with passes. I don't think he can do it. So I think the Longhorns, and look, they're going to be crazy at Arkansas for this game. You can argue this is actually the real biggest. I know they play in the SEC, but you can argue this is the biggest game in their schedule because this is an old rivalry from the Big 8 days, and they really want to win this game. But they'll have to play a lot better than they did against Rice. That was a misleading final score. That game was a lot closer than the score indicates, and that was Rice. This is Texas.
Boy, oh boy, you got to keep emotion out of it and borderline anger on Colorado State against Vandy.
Oh,
Colorado State at home to be laying only 7, I think is an overreaction. And CSU just they were not ready. They got out physicaled against an FCS team. Might be a top 3 FCS team in South Dakota State.
Oh yeah.
Vandy is dreadful.
Oh, they're awful.
I mean, if Adazio can't win this game going away, dude, what are you doing?
Well, I don't like him as a coach. I
don't either.
But I commented on that last year. It's like, really? That's the guy you want? The guy who basically got run out of Chestnut Hill?
They hated him at BC.
Oh, players couldn't stand him. And he was not. Look, I'm not there anymore, obviously. So it's all, none of it's firsthand info, but from what I gather, he just wasn't just the players. Okay. He was not. They didn't throw him a big going away party when he left Boston. I don't understand Colorado State's last 2 hires. Mike Bobo's not a head coach.
No.
That program's gone backwards. That was a pretty good program by Mountain West standards, not that many years ago, and they aren't anymore. They've been passed by a lot of teams.
They got a brand new stadium. It's beautiful. They've got a massive naming rights deal. They've got a ton of money behind the program. I don't know which boosters wanted Adazio because they thought he was a big name, but they blew it. They blew it big time. So that said, I might go back to not that I bet him against South Dakota State, and I watched a lot of the South Dakota State game. I might go to the well on this one and, bet CSU -7.
I'm going to stay as far away as I can from that. I just can't lay a touchdown with that team.
All right.
Even against Vandy.
Anything else intriguing to you? I know we actually on the air today, we talked about Liberty and Troy. That's actually a really good game. Although Hugh Freeze has been pretty good cover machine over time.
Yeah. It's a good game, though. It's a good matchup. Troy's halfway decent, and that could be a good battle.
What about this one? Rutgers 2 against Syracuse.
Oh, boy, does Dino Babers need this win. At least they got a win last week. Actually, they played pretty well against Ohio, considering. Rutgers look good. I don't know. I don't think my power ratings have the game about even.
Yeah. So,
but but Rutgers looks like it might be better than my power ratings indicate. Schiano's really good at this coaching thing. It didn't work out in the NFL, but he's a good college coach, and I think you would know more than I do on the culture at Rutgers, but I think he is creating a more positive football culture there than they've had in a long time.
Yeah, it's getting better. They're still limited at the quarterback position because the guy they have, they really don't trust him to throw over the middle of the field. They like his legs because they're still trying to build the offensive line. So we'll see. But I think from a scouting standpoint, when everything you throw has to be deep down the sideline or some kind of quick out, bubble screens, it makes it a little easier for the defense to defend it. So interesting game. And it's big in the region too because Rutgers has moved past Syracuse in the recruiting standpoint. So if they can win this one, then it's kind of another message that Syracuse is behind them in terms of recruiting New York and New Jersey. So we'll see. Last one, unless someone else has a question about college. Actually, I had 2. Colorado can't compete with Texas A&M. They're getting 17. What do you think?
They might be able to hang around, but I don't know where their points are going to come from. They got quarterback issues at Colorado, and you got to be able to score some points. So they're going to have a very good game defensively. But A&M, their new quarterback, made some mistakes last week. And if he makes those mistakes again, they're going to have a dogfight in their hands with Colorado. So I think the line's probably about right in that game.
You have anything in Kentucky, Mizzou? It's 5.5.
Well, I mean, Kentucky, we'll see if it was a one-game thing or not, but you would not have recognized the Kentucky offense last week against Central Michigan, and they really opened things up. Now, whether they'll do it in SEC play against Missouri, I don't know, but it's a good sign for Kentucky at least, and it's a game I think we'll learn something there. I think it's a pretty tight battle on paper, but I did like what Kentucky did offensively last week. Just not used to seeing it. So I've got to see it again to believe it. And by the way, it was against UL Monroe. So that's why I'm not so sure that they go as open up as they were last week in a conference game against Missouri. I mean, you can afford to take chances against UL Monroe. Why not? UL Monroe can't play. They're one of the 10 worst teams in the country. Missouri's not. So I have a tendency to feel like, coaches go back to what they usually do in a game like this. And if that's the case, Stoops will probably roll it back in and get conservative. And if he does that, well, then probably going to be a real close game. And I can't really make a judgment because I don't know whether I learned anything about Kentucky playing UL Monroe. It's an exhibition game, basically.
Right. What'd you get from Cal in that Nevada game, and what do you think is TCU laying 11 against Cal?
Oh, they weren't very good in the second half. Nice performance by Nevada. Big win for the Wolfpack. They still got a good defense, and I haven't seen TCU yet. Didn't see any of their games last week. A lot of people think they're pretty good this year, but I kind of hear that every year out of TCU because Gary Patterson's so well respected. And we'll see if Duggan has taken a step forward this year. He's pretty good college quarterback. Needs to be better though. Needs to be more consistent. I think the numbers. If I had to bet it, I'd probably take TCU, but I didn't bet it. I didn't bet the game.
All right. Stanford going to command some respect from USC. USC going to be, is this that week 2 relaxed spot after a nice win last week? I know it's a conference game, but Stanford looked like hell too against Kansas State.
They were terrible.
Yep.
Remember just a few years ago when every time an NFL job opened up, they said, well, is this the job David Shaw is going to leave Stanford for? I don't think anybody's asking those questions anymore. Has his stock dropped or what? He's just ultra conservative. He will never quit these tendencies. Again, last week, they're behind. And they got a fourth and somewhat long, but not unmakeable in the second half against Kansas State. On the Kansas State side of the field. Guess what he did? He punted.
Yep.
That's David Shaw. I don't think that style works in today's football. I don't think he is getting the athletes, particularly the skill position athletes that they were getting. And part of the reason for that is if you're a high-level player, if you're a high-level offensive talent, you want to go to Stanford where your abilities might not be shown very much because of the style of football they play? I don't think I would. He's not getting the players he used to get. USC should be able to do what they want here. Stanford could not stop the run at all last week against Kansas State. And if USC is able to establish a ground game, that opens things up for a passer who's very good. One of the better quarterbacks in the country. So USC could stomp them. And the Trojans looked good last week.
Yeah, that's a good point, Cruiser. You get the education.
I'm not knocking the school.
The school's awesome.
I mean, listen, if I make fun of Cal Poly for their awful basketball program, it's not a knock on the school. If you go to Cal Poly and graduate, you're probably going to be a millionaire pretty quickly. Okay.
All right, NFL. We'll go about 10 minutes here, and let's get to a couple of games at least. Did I miss something today? Did something happen to Carolina or something positive on the Jet side? Why is this number going down? It's now Circa has Carolina 3.5. There's 4.5. There's 4s. This was 5. I thought like middle of the day today.
I have not been paying attention to that.
Yeah.
So I didn't even notice the line move. It's not a game I was involved in. I don't play a whole lot of NFL games. I've got a couple of games I kind of like a little bit this week, but that's not one of them. I do think the Jets have an opportunity here. Let me pardon me looking away. Let me get my notes here on.
I want to hear the power rating for my Jets. And like I said, there is a 3.5 out there, so I wonder if people start pulling the trigger.
I power rated the game 4.
Okay.
I think. See, the problem is the Jets. I like the defensive front for the Jets. That's pretty much it. But I don't much like anything about Carolina.
Yeah.
I think their offensive line stinks. Defensive line is average. If you break, I'll borrow Pro Football Focus for this because I do like the way they break down some things as far as ratings are concerned. And they have 5 tiers offensively and 5 tiers defensively. The Jets are in the 5th tier on both offense and defense. But Carolina is in the 5th tier offensively and the 4th tier defensively. So this is a game between 2 bad football teams. And I know one thing. I don't like laying points with bad football teams, even against another bad football team. So I'd be taking before I'd be laying in this game.
All right. Do you feel like the Eagles are live dogs against the Falcons?
Yeah, I actually do.
Okay.
Where did I make the number in the game? I made the number 3. But I think the Eagles are the much better team in the trenches. And I have to look, this is just the way I understand the trench, the offensive linemen and defensive linemen don't get much attention, particularly from those who are betting. But that's actually where I begin, is who's going to win up front. Because if you can get the team that's going to win up front, you probably get the winner of the football game. And in this case, I think the Eagles are actually better up front on both sides of the ball than the Falcons.
Really?
I don't like this. Yeah, I don't.
You like the Eagles' offensive line, huh?
I think it's okay.
Okay.
I don't think it's great, but I do like their defensive line. I don't think the Eagles' offensive line is as bad as people are making it out to be. Let's put it that way. I think the Falcons, overall offensively, because they've got some very good skill position people, they're not terrible. They're kind of middle of the pack, but their offensive line stinks. And I don't like laying points with those teams. So I would take the points there before I'd lay them.
All right. Why is Tennessee only 3 against Arizona? Are these basically even teams and just home field?
If you give me 4, I'd take Arizona.
Really?
I might even take it with 3.5. I think Arizona's the better team. I am not nearly. I think the Titans might be a playoff team because they're in a division that's probably going to enable them to get there. And they are a very good offensive team. Their defense sucks. Okay, it's bad. Arizona, and I was on Phoenix radio yesterday, I think it was, with Jim Brinson and Howard Balzer, who are now living in the desert and doing radio and covering the Cardinals. And I made the comment that I think Arizona might be a team that they could end the season 7-10 and be an above average football team. They're stuck in a really tough division. But I think they're actually a little above average football team. And that, to me, I think Tennessee's overrated, particularly and basically because I've got them. If you're going on that tier structure, I would have them as a 5th tier defense, one of the worst defenses in the league. And I think Arizona's got the capabilities of going in there and pulling a mild upset on Sunday. And by the way, the line kind of tells you that. All this hype about the Titans, there's been a lot of hype about this team, which teams with good offenses usually get a lot of hype. And Tennessee's got a good offense. But they're only 3-point favorites. So if you're a line reader, I think you look at that and say, odds makers are making a pretty good case that the Cardinals have a really good chance to win this game, because this line could easily be 5. But if they put 5 out there, the math guys would be all over Arizona.
Alex saying over 52. All right.
Could
Tennessee.
be. I can't. I'm not. Again, I don't. I'm just not very good at totals, so I basically leave them alone. Why waste time on something you're not particularly good at? But I can certainly see that. But that is a high number, though. But we saw the offenses pretty well control things tonight, and that was with one really good defensive team on the field. So I certainly am not going to argue against that game being high scoring.
Patriots 3 against Miami.
I made him higher than that. I think the Patriots are going to be a pretty good football team. I don't know that I'll get involved in this game. It's still the first start.
Yeah.
For the quarterback, and that's a ton of pressure. I almost would rather see him on the road for the first start. The expectations are never as high on the road. But he's under the microscope right away here in a big divisional game against Miami. So I don't feel comfortable laying the points. If this game was 3 weeks from now, I'd probably be all over the Patriots -3. I think the Patriots are going to be better than people think this year. I think they will challenge Buffalo for that division. Look, the Patriots were hit worse than anybody last year by the opt-outs because of COVID. They had a bunch of guys who just said, we're not going to play. And most of them are back. And their quarterback was god-awful last year. I'm sorry. I mean, Cam Newton was a great player in his day. His day is done. Okay, he's a backup, and that's it. He's not a starting quarterback in this league. And he was awful last year. And it just basically killed the Patriots. So I think they're immediately a better football team, even with a rookie at QB.
How about speaking of football team? How about the line flipping on this one? Now football team's -1 against the Chargers at home.
I'm pretty good at reading where lines are going to go, and I missed it on this one. I thought, I can hang around waiting this game. A lot of hype on the Chargers, and with good reason. I thought I might be able to get 2 by game day, but that's not going to happen. Washington's now the favorite, and I think they'll win the game. I think Washington should have been like a 3-point favorite here. Their defense is just fantastic. It's one of the best defensive units in the league. That's a 1-tier defense. If we talk about Tennessee being the 5th tier,
right?
The WFT is a 1-tier. It's a great defense, and all they need to do is manage the game offensively, and they're going to win a lot of football games. Probably win that division.
Numbers coming down in Green Bay, New Orleans. Now it's Green Bay 3.5 in Jacksonville.
I don't know what to do with it. It's neutral field because of the storm, and I just okay. I'll leave it alone. I don't know what to do with it.
What about Buffalo, Pittsburgh? That one's 6.5.
But my first inclination was to grab Pittsburgh because their defense it's great. It's a first-rate defense, and they'll need to be first-rate against this Buffalo offense because Josh Allen has ascended to the elite level of NFL quarterbacks. He's one of the best in the league now, and that Buffalo offense is top tier. So what do you like more in the game? If you like offense, you're on the Bills. If you like defense, you're on the Steelers because the clear-cut edges here. Pittsburgh with the much better defense, Buffalo with the much better offense. If you want to base it on one game, the offenses were ahead of the defense tonight. Could be the case with a lot of games in week 1.
Yeah. I'm going to put this up, but I have a feeling this is not going to be pretty. Dave, what are your thoughts on 2 or 3 team parlays?
Have fun with them if you want.
There you go.
I don't think that's the way to make money. Here's where I would, if you like a couple of big money line favorites, that's where you can make, you're reducing your risk and you can still get an okay payoff on a 2-teamer or even a 3-teamer. But that's the only way I do it. I mean, trying to beat the spread on 3-teamers. Oh, you're not. Yeah. Look, if you're really serious about doing this, just bet them flat.
Right.
Okay. It's just the way to do it.
Yep.
I mean, all I'm telling you is, look, I'm not going to say there aren't people who win doing parlays, but most professional bettors don't bet them.
Yeah.
Now they do, however, and this has become a big market. They do play 2-team teasers.
Yep.
And particularly when you can tease through 2 key numbers. And by the way, it didn't work tonight. If you bet a late teaser on Tampa, landing on 2 was not good.
Late teaser, the key. Late teaser.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
If you done it when the number was sitting at, what was the lowest number? 7 or 7.5?
I don't have my lines up, but I think
right?
it was
At one point.
well, let's just say 7.5.
Yeah. You
7.5, then you're alive in your
Yeah.
teaser. But if you waited to get when it was 8.5, you're not alive. And you're only supposed to be playing 6-point teasers. Okay.
Right.
But those are viable bets because you can actually you can get a slight plus even return in terms of expectation when you go through 2 key numbers in either direction. And there are games out there this weekend that fit on that. So that's something where it's not a bad bet.
Last thing, how are you doing on baseball down the stretch here?
I had an okay season. I'm up. I think after tonight at Wager Talk, I'm up 52 net units and change. So it's been an okay season.
Do you change your approach in September? Because one thing I've been looking for, I think the numbers get a little out of control against the bad teams, and I'm not looking to bet bad teams all the time. But if I see pitchers, and everything's changed now because the pitchers are max 5 and 6 innings. But if I see pitchers who are not freaking lockdown pitchers, and all of a sudden the game's getting to 240, 260, then I've been trying to seek out 160, 180, 200 numbers every once in a while on teams that aren't good teams. But on the other side, I'm like, this is not a freaking pitcher who's going to shut them down necessarily.
Well, I'd say about 80+% of my plays in baseball are simply based on the starting pitcher and are simply first 5 inning bets because of what you just said. I don't want to be involved after the 5th inning. Bullpens they're all unpredictable as far as I'm concerned. And I look for small favorites or underdogs where I feel I've got a starting pitcher edge or at least value edge.
Right.
And by the way, I will tip my cap to him again. He wasn't sharp tonight. He only had 1 strikeout in 6 innings. But boy, this kid Carlos Hernandez has been a cash cow for me. I made a lot of money on him in the second half. I had the Royals plus 105 first 5 tonight, and he was not good tonight. But even on a night where he didn't have his good stuff and didn't have his command, he didn't give up anything. This kid, it came from out of nowhere. He's a number 1 starter.
Oh, really?
His stuff is that good.
Wow.
He's 97 and 99 on the gun. And he doesn't even know what he's doing yet. His slider is getting better.
Yeah.
I think they'll work on him developing a changeup or maybe more of a curveball, which he rarely uses. This kid, and he's huge. I mean, he's a big dude.
6'3", 250.
Royals have themselves a top of the rotation guy.
Yeah.
I hope he stays healthy because he's going to be fun to watch. He is just he's a dude. Okay. There's some guys that are guys. There's some guys that are dudes.
Yeah.
I'm stealing that from somebody. It's not, but he's a dude. Okay.
Yeah. Today I rolled the dice on a couple of dogs, and I got comebacks because actually the pitchers pitched good games. The Marlins comeback was 160, and I like the kid Ranger Suarez is really good for the Phillies.
Boy, he's been terrific.
He can only go 5 innings, so I was like, hey, if they stay in the game, then I'll take a chance here. Senzatella was okay last time out, first time back in a while, and they had a comeback, and they hit it like 160, I think.
Oh, the Rockies won? I hadn't even checked the score.
Yeah, they came back. They came back late. Yep. Sorry.
I've got over 81 on the Phillies, so every game is important there, and you can't lose to Colorado. If they make the playoffs, which I don't think they will, I would give Joe Girardi major props for moving Ranger Suarez into the starting rotation.
Yeah.
And using the way Suarez has been a savior for that team. He's pitched terrific ball. He's given them 3 solid starters. Aaron Nola's not having a great year.
Oh, man.
But he's still a pretty good pitcher. And Zach Wheeler is a possible Cy Young winner. By the way, I am rooting for Adam Wainwright. When you get old, you automatically root for the oldest guy in the race. And Adam Wainwright's up to 15, 16 wins right now, and has been an absolute horse down the stretch for the Cardinals. And I don't have a vote for the Cy Young, obviously. But with DeGrom out of the mix, and I'm not making Wainwright's not the favorite, but I am pulling hard for him to finish strong. And Cardinals, by the way, another nice win over the Dodgers tonight.
Yep.
They're in the mix for that wild card now. Yeah, I think Scherzer probably will win the Cy Young, but you don't mind if I root for the old guy, right?
Well, they're both kind of old, really. You forget that
Wainwright's really old.
Well, in his comeback story, I think Wainwright's 39, and I didn't know Scherzer. I kind of lost track of how old Scherzer is. He's 37, so which is
really 37?
Yeah, dude. I call him Dave, dude. Yeah, he's.
I didn't realize that.
I think I'm right on that one. Yeah, he's. Which again, for him to be as good as he is right now is pretty sick.
Okay, then I'm going to be happy with Scherzer gets. Anybody over 30, I think guys under 35 shouldn't be eligible for any awards.
There you go. Yeah, Scherzer born in '84, so.
All right. Well, a quick question.
Yeah.
Is Ohtani still the MVP? I know he's going to win the award, but he has not had he's not having a great run of it down the stretch.
Right.
And Guerrero
is
just doing ridiculous things, and Toronto might make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that's another, they're equal in the loss column now with the Red Sox and Yankees. They can make the playoffs. I mean, and Guerrero has been awesome. I mean, that's why, to me, you can't just say, okay, it's over. And I think Ohtani's probably going to get it because he was so far ahead. And what he has done is phenomenal. But, boy, I mean, Guerrero's making it interesting.
Well, I think the pitching makes a difference. Obviously, the story makes a big difference. I mean, if anything, they're both going to be candidates for MVP in the future. Guerrero's going to win some MVPs. He is, what a freaking stud this kid is. He's ridiculous.
By the way, he's taking off the weight.
Yep.
He's also become I know they moved him across the infield, and you can argue first base is easier than third, but he's never played the position before. He might win a Gold Glove. I mean, he's been that good at first base this year. He's been tremendous. By the way, speaking of Gold Gloves, Hunter Renfroe has the Gold Glove locked up. Yeah. Oh, I mean, he's got 16 assists now. I think his average velocity on his throws is like 95 miles an hour. He made an unbelievable throw to end the game last night for the Red Sox in their win over Tampa. What a year he's having. And by the way, he could never hit for average. He's hitting almost 270. And he's got a ton of home runs.
Why did it feel like he was kind of tossed on the scrap heap? I didn't get that.
He was. Boy, he was just this huge swing and miss guy. And I don't think people realized, be honest with you, I didn't realize how good he was in the outfield. He's been great in the outfield for the Red Sox. Wow. I mean, he won the game. He single-handedly won the game for them last night. He had a 2-run homer when they were down 1-0. And then goes out and makes this incredible throw to nail a Tampa runner at third base to end the game. I mean, he had like maybe had a 5% chance of throwing the guy out. He got him, and that was the end of the ball game. That was awesome. And he seems like a real nice guy. He's not one of the first thing he does in the post-game interview. He's giving all the credit to everybody else on the team except himself. Gotta like a guy like that.
Dave, I hope you get some winners this weekend. I hope I get some winners. I hope the audience gets some winners, and we'll talk to you early next week, okay, on Cofield and Company.
Sounds good. Good luck to everybody.